Victoria's Heathcote wine region could be next on the renewable chopping block as the state government plans to build Australia's largest solar farm there. Once again, farmers and our beautiful landscape are coming second to the green dream, even when that dream is apparently being built against state and local government planning guidelines. Joining me now is leading geologist Ian Plimer. Ian, we've got more than 60 businesses, farmers and residents trying to oppose this project, saying it's going against guidelines meant to preserve productive agricultural land. And there's hardly more fertile land than wine country, and Australian wine lovers would tell you some of the very best product comes from that region. So why are they building a solar farm there?
Well, this is the normal MO of those who are pushing renewables. We fast-track renewables and we bulldoze everything. We bulldoze public opinion. We kill any wildlife. If it's in Queensland, we just wipe out the rainforests. We kill off farming. Objections are ignored. Whether you contravene planning laws or not, it doesn't matter. There's no mechanism of appeal. And high-value agricultural land is actually turned into something worthless. Because if we get hailstorms like we had in Texas last week, then we totally destroy this solar industrial facility. It's not a farm, it's an industrial facility. And if we have a hailstorm, it'll destroy it and we'll leave very, very dangerous chemicals, cadmium chemicals, tellurium chemicals. These will be left in the soils forever. So I think the farmers have got every reason to object. Farmers are getting treated dreadfully in this country, and they are having cheap Chinese panels just dumped on them. And in fact, these panels are so cheap, and there's so many of them, that in parts of Europe, and especially the UK, people are building fences out of them. So why should we take someone else's garbage, owned by a foreign company, to actually destroy some of our prime lands? And I have to say, I'm a great admirer of the Heathcote Pinot Noirs.
Good Shiraz from that region as well. Well, Chris Bowen is not giving up on his dream for everyone to be buying expensive, ineffective electric vehicles. This is despite the troubled rollout of the EV charging stations across the country. And meanwhile, we've got the Climate Change Minister and the PM being criticised for taking not one, but two jets to the Hunter Valley to promote a renewables fund. Ian, how did the Climate Change Minister defend this? It seems an astonishing decision for him to make. Let's have a listen to his response.
The Prime Minister has a large jet available to him. That would normally be what we take. The runway at Scone wasn't strong enough to take the large jet, so the Air Force recommended and took the decision for two small jets.
It was impossible for you to go together in the one plane.
Even the small jets weren't fully laden because of the weight restrictions on the. Even if we had, with the Prime Minister's security detail and other people involved, going from, as you'd imagine, the Prime Ministerial visit, two cabinet ministers, we limited the number of staff. And even then, that was the Air Force advice, the most efficient way of getting us there.
What do you make of that, Ian? Does that pass the pub test?
Well, it certainly doesn't. It's just rank hypocrisy. And if Mr. Bowen knew something about the state that he comes from, he would know that the airport at Scone once used to have Fokker Friendships land there. Now, you can land the equivalent to a Fokker Friendship, and that is a Dash 8, where you could have the Prime Minister, all sorts of hangers-on that you'd want, and you'd easily fill a Dash 8 and you wouldn't have any problems. Yes, it might take 20 minutes longer. Who are these people to waste taxpayers' money thinking they're so important that they've got to have a couple of jets to fly to a regional area? Why don't they actually travel on a commercial plane? Why don't they actually meet people who travel on, say, a Jetstar flight? Why don't they go by train up to Scone and actually meet people who are struggling and travel by train? This is rank hypocrisy, and they're in Scone to promote an absolutely useless scheme anyway, because they have to be told time and time again that no one has ever shown that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming. So the whole business of wind turbines, solar facilities, EVs, The whole lot is built on a house of cards. No one has ever shown that human emissions drive climate change.
Well, Chris Bowen certainly believes it does, and we have a raft of policies in this country from that position. So the hypocrisy there to not find another solution other than to take two little jets for this announcement, that's what's extraordinary here. Sometimes circumstances are what they are, but for someone who preaches this stuff day and night to not be living it himself. And I noticed this post from One Nation's National Director, Craig Kelly, had this to say. He said, to attend a photo opportunity at Liddell, Blackout Bowen, that's what he calls him, could have flown into Newcastle Airport on a commercial flight and travelled in a chauffeur-driven limo, which is a 1 hour and 30-minute drive. But instead, Blackout had taxpayers pick up the tab for a private jet to take him to Scone Airport with a 44-minute car trip to Liddell. So for the saving of 46 minutes there, we had two jets making this trip rather than a commercial flight. It's a hard one to justify, but I wonder if it's going to be soon forgotten with the 24-hour news cycle, Ian.
Well, when Labor are in opposition, they're for the working man. They are concerned about waste. They're concerned about transparency. But as soon as they get into government, they have the champagne and caviar life. They don't care. Where's the old song, the working class kiss my ass. I've got the boss's job at last. And that's the way the Labor Party perform when they're in power.
Ian Plimer, thank you so much for your time this evening.